Get the fuck off my porch. As I'm sure a lot of you guys know, I'm such a sucker for indie horror games. I mean, my second favorite game of all time is mouthwashing. But just in general, I have always been in love with indie games overall. I mean, another example is my favorite game of all time is What Remains of Edith Finch. I think it is the perfect video game, and I could go on for hours about that game. I mean, hell, my first 2 video essays I made were on indie horror games, so I'm sure you can imagine how much I loved the demo for No I'm Not a Human when it released on June 8th, 2025. Even though the demo was only the first few nights, I needed more. The concept of this game is just so unbelievably nerve-wracking and interesting. I mean, if we, yes, you and me, got put in this situation, we are losing it. So just the concept alone is nerve-wracking. The second I got my hands on the full release of this game, I played it non-stop for 3 days straight, getting 6 of the 10 whole endings along the way. Yeah, there's 10 endings to this game, dude. There's such an insane level of detail, creativity, and love put into this game. This game also has such an incredible villain who actually just shows up randomly.
You want some of this, motherfucker?
The developers clearly knew they had something special here and wanted very much to act on it. Well, without spoiling anymore, I want to talk about this game. I want to explain all the endings, the lore, theories, gameplay, all that. I have absolutely fallen in love with this game and everything about it. So let's start with day 1. Now, as opposed to my usual video essays, I'm not just going to be explaining the story while I talk about things I like throughout. Because the thing about this game is, while yes, there's an overall story, it's always changing depending on you. I mean, like I said before, this game has 10 whole endings, and each one is entirely based on your actions as the protagonist. Now let's begin the story with the opening cutscene. One thing I always appreciate in video games is when developers find a way to incorporate live-action footage into a real game. It brings so much personality with it, and I always appreciate it when it's done. The story begins with your neighbor coming over to your house late at night. He brings the news that something bad is going down and likely to get worse. He stays the night until you go to sleep. Upon waking up, the neighbor tells you the basic concept of this game. The overall story is that the sun is unnaturally heating up. It gets so bad it's starting to cause fires and even burn people. As well as the issues with the sun, people are emerging from the ground, crawling themselves out, disguising themselves as humans. These are called the Visitors. Visitors are extremely dangerous creatures whose only goal is to infiltrate, wipe out humanity, and kill whoever they can. I'll get into exactly what the Visitors are later, as even with the full game, we don't even know exactly what they are. A virus? Zombies? Aliens? We'll get to that. Throughout the game, the sun continues to heat up. Visitors break into people's homes, kill people, fires ravage buildings, people flee their homes. With the sun's new heat, people desperately look for a place to stay. That's where the story resides. Your neighbor explains that since you live alone, with everything getting worse, you're gonna have to let people in to stay with you. After some sleep and meeting his daughter, the hand-holding ends, and the game begins. With the introduction out of the way, I'll get into the main highlight of this game, the gameplay itself. As I mentioned before, the game consists of a night and day cycle. It is at night, the sun isn't out, so people are able to go outside without burning to a crisp. Therefore, you're able to look out your windows at night as well. Every night, people will show up knocking at your door. After talking to them, you can decide if you want to let them in or not. As for the day half, you have access to the TV, which shows news broadcasts updating you on the state of the world. On the second day, upon seeing the news, a new organization created by the government to prevent catastrophe is formed, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, otherwise known as FEMA. Through the news on the TV, as the days go by, FEMA gives you new means to test people that you've let into your home for visitor signs. The first one given is simple: perfect white teeth. Upon getting each means to test people, you can test the people in your homes for signs of being a visitor, as if there's a visitor in your home, it could be extremely dangerous and result in deaths. As the days go on, you learn more signs that FEMA is discovering, giving you new means to test people for being visitors. All of these signs being, as stated before, perfect white teeth, dirty fingernails because of the fact the visitors crawled out from underground, bloodshot eyes, rapid eye movement, hairless armpits, as well as fungus in the armpits, dark patches when taking aura photos, bleeding gums, skin irritation, as well as insects in the ears? We'll get to that later. If you suspect someone in your home to be a visitor, if they test positive for one or more signs, you can shoot them.
Let me get my kid together real quick. I think I need a gun!
You get a weird flashing screen if you're correct and they are a visitor. If any human dies in your home, whether by your hand or a visitor's, there will be trash bags on the floor. Now, you may be thinking, what if I just don't let anyone in? Surely that would be the right thing to do. Just don't take the risk of letting visitors inside? Well, one night upon looking at the window, you see a group of heavily armed soldiers outside your home. Upon looking outside another window, you see a tall, slender figure whose skin is described to not fit his body. The next night upon looking at the window, the figure slaughtered all of the armed soldiers, staring right at you holding one of their heads as almost to taunt you. The reason you can't be alone in your home? Let me introduce you to what they call the super visitor. I'm sure you can now see why you need people in your house. The super visitor, or the pale man as some call him, is the most dangerous visitor we have seen so far. Completely wiping out a full team of armed soldiers and walking away unscathed. But he leaves upon hearing that the protagonist is indeed not alone. We'll get to what would happen if you didn't later. If you went out of your way to watch the TV on the second day, you'll see a news broadcast on the pale man, with a photo telling people to not under any circumstances tell him you're alone. During the night schedules as well as the pale man, there are a couple other story-related characters that appear no matter the playthrough, with one instance being that FEMA regularly shows up at your door. They explain, as well as on the news, that FEMA has set up quarantine zones on the outskirts of the city. As we find out, while yes, the sun is heating up rapidly all across the world, we learn that the visitor pandemic is only within this city, so they set the entire city into lockdown. Whenever FEMA shows up, they request people to take them into quarantine camps. They claim it's for the greater good, and in every playthrough, I always let in Wireface and Kokai, so if they dare take them... Another guaranteed visit is... the ballerina woman. If I can even call her a woman, she's a visitor, guys. Look, spoiler alert, she's a visitor, look at her. But she does have a cat, so... That's another thing I forgot to mention. While obviously some people are guaranteed to be visitors, as well as some people are guaranteed to be humans, every other NPC in this game is up to complete chance to be a visitor. About 70% of them are completely random every playthrough if they're a visitor or not. Another thing I love is that no playthrough is really the same. There are 60 characters in this game, and you'll only maybe meet a third of them in one playthrough. With some that are so creepy they are heart attack inducing. With a lot of them only having a chance to be a visitor, so check everyone. Another guaranteed visit, see what I did there, is from the Vigilante, described to have necklaces made from visitor fingers, eyes, and teeth. He's a madman who kills everyone he sees, obsessed with the idea of needing to wipe out the visitors himself. When he shows up, he mostly rambles about the visitor population, as well as wanting to test you yourself to see if you're a visitor. On that note, I think I should get into what the visitors even are, or what we think they are. Now, it's not entirely confirmed what the visitors are. While yes, they did crawl out of the ground, we know that it's also a parasite that they carried with them somehow, and highly contagious. It explains why FEMA wears hazmat suits so the parasite can't even get to them. Being around a visitor too long can also turn you into one. And sometimes, like the guaranteed visitor cashier girl, sometimes you don't even know you're a visitor, which is why you're able to check yourself for visitor signs in the bathroom. If you get infected and become a visitor, one night you'll slaughter everyone in the house without even knowing. You'll wake up to the doors all broken down and the room's completely empty. So yeah, don't turn into a visitor. But back to the Vigilante. He'll ask for you to show him you're not a visitor. So just showing him any sign you know won't make you look like a visitor and you're good. There are so many secrets in this game too. As I'm sure you can assume, any character you let into your house you can conversate with and learn about them. And yes, I love stand-up guy. I don't care if he's ugly, he's funny, and you can't tell me what to do. But my favorite is the previously mentioned Kokai. Like, look at him. he's cold. But not only can you talk to them, some of the characters have unique cutscenes and moments. Like for example, the ballerina creature I mentioned earlier, if for some reason you're dumb enough to let her in.
Yes, you open or no? I think just for the thrill, we just let her in.
Talking to her enough will prompt her to just straight up reveal she's a visitor. When trying to shoot her, her body contorts to dodge the bullet. She does this several times before she gives up and lets us shoot her. Another one is Coat Guy. When talking to him over the course of several days, he says he has a secret he wants to show you. Upon showing you the source of his cold, now, we don't even entirely know what this means or what it even is. A lot of people have theorized that he is some sort of super visitor, but I refuse to believe it. But anyway, there are quite a few unique cutscenes for characters you'll meet, so you never know what you're missing out on by kicking people out, just saying. Now that I've gone through the general overview of the gameplay, let's get into each of these 10 different endings, as they each require different actions and people. Another cool thing is how, like last year when the song Headlock was associated with mouthwashing, for No I'm Not a Human, people associate I Want Things to Be Beautiful with this game. I mean, come on, this song is such a banger.
I want things to be beautiful.
The first ending I'll talk about is the simplest. This ending is called Yes, I Am Alone. I'm sure you can see where this is going. This ending is simply achieved by either actually being alone in the house when the pale man asks if you are alone, or just to answer that you are. Upon saying you're alone, yeah, just keep people in your house. I do really appreciate this ending for the fully rendered 3D cutscene of the Pale Man. That's a lot of fear factor actually seeing him up close, and it gives you a lot more incentive to make sure you aren't alone in your home at all times. And I find it interesting that this ending is one of the more beautiful ones compared to some others, contemplating on the fear of disappearing and becoming nothing, commenting on the protagonist's relatives not even caring about him enough to go and check on him or his house, giving us more information on the protagonist and why he just hates everyone. The next two endings coincide with one another. In this game, there are a total of 14 days in one playthrough. As the days go on, every day on the news, they talk about everything just getting worse. The sun showing no sign of more disasters at the quarantine zones, as well as holding dangerous individuals there. On the final day, if you've made it to the end, the news says that dangerous individuals have escaped the quarantine zones and are on the loose. They instruct all homeowners left to board up all their windows and to hold out inside. Now after doing that, here's where you get one of two variants of these two endings. I'll start with the end. Upon hiding in the basement after boarding up all the windows, and this period of time drags on for another 2 months. one day, the radio comes on saying that the sun's activity has been slowly decreasing, and in a week it'll be safe to go outside again. But the protagonist feels disappointed. Sure, he'll get to live longer, but what will it amount to? Will the sun just heat up again next summer? But ultimately, the protagonist and the other humans he has in the basement with him await the time until they can walk the earth again. I do like this more optimistic ending, and funny enough, it's really the only optimistic ending out of all 10 of these. My only thought is, yeah, sure, the sun's activity is decreasing, but what about the visitors? Are they just gonna go away? I'm sure there's an explanation out there somewhere, but I appreciate the vague lack of detail. Now that version is if you only had humans in your house. What if you had visitors? This ending is called No, I'm Not Alone. I like this ending more than the optimistic one, weirdly enough. I love the visual of the visitors near the end, and it feels like a more realistic ending to the other. One of the more simple endings, yet one of the darkest, is called Yes, I Am a Murderer. To trigger this, you just need to kill a large amount of humans during a day. Upon going to sleep, you'll be greeted at the door by the Prophet. The protagonist is overwhelmed with fear and paranoia, killing more humans. He eventually tries to take his own life. but instead he's dragged out of his home and starts to get beat, kicked over and over, but not killed. He's left out in the sun, and he's left out to burn. In the sun, he's sat and feared for so long. Becoming just as scared as everyone else. Again, as I said, I love dark endings, and this one's no exception. And I like that this version of the protagonist gets what he deserves for being the man he is. The next ending is one of the more common ones, and is actually the first ending I got when I played the full game. The ending is called The Wrath of the Vigilante. As I stated before, the second time the Vigilante shows up after talking about his brother, who's revealed to be your old neighbor, he asks for us to show him a sign that we aren't a visitor. If you slip up and show him anything that could even slightly resemble a visitor sign, things don't go very well. After killing the Vigilante, even with a bullet wound, which is insane, the protagonist just takes the Vigilante's place, claiming everyone with a gun dies tonight, showing nothing but pure rage for the heartless killers like the Vigilante himself, claiming he will wipe out every last one of them, becoming just like the Vigilante he ridiculed for so long. I have a soft spot for this ending due to the fact that it was my first one. When he showed up in my playthrough, I for some reason had the genius idea to show him my teeth, completely forgetting that the first ever visitor sign we see is perfect white teeth. Very smart, I know. But in media in general, I always love a good dark ending, so I appreciated this one, as well as the long, drawn-out scene of him killing the Vigilante. As I said before, there are a few scripted visits/characters, one of them being the cultist leader. As talked about on the news before, his cult worships death. They follow her every word. When the leader shows up, he leaves 3 of his cultists to stay with you. And don't worry, they're all guaranteed humans, besides some of them showing very clear signs. I totally didn't, absolutely blast all of them in my first playthrough. What I'm getting at is there is another ending that is triggered if you keep them alive and safe for 2 days, which means none of them getting taken by FEMA, none dying to visitors, etc. Easier said than done. But succeeding in keeping them safe upon the cultist's return begins the ending, "May death cleanse us of our sins." He offers you to be a part of their ritual, saying that she meaning death, has a place for him, and she will care for him. Upon agreeing, you trigger the ending. becoming a part of their ritual to death. You are burned. As you die, you meet her. You meet death. She promises to help him move on, and promises to preserve his memories. Again, another beautiful ending. As much as I love dark endings, beautiful endings like this, I also love. I love the idea of death in this universe as its own entity, but we'll get back to her. No, the next ending, Shroom or Doom, I'm actually not going to talk about. I know that sounds weird, but this ending is more of a joke ending. If you really care to see it, I would go and try and get it yourself. It's very odd, and for me, it pulls me out of the game a lot, so we're going to move on. But let's get back to the dark, good stuff. This one's more of a secret ending that requires more steps. This ending is called Welcome to FEMA. You get this ending through a few requirements. Firstly being the fact that you need to call FEMA from the moment you get the number, and call them 3 times in the playthrough in total. Secondly, whenever a FEMA officer shows up at your door, you have to always choose the most cooperative dialogue options when they arrive. Never question them. Finally, throughout the game, you get an item called a FEMA notice. By giving them to people in your home, it means they will be taken by FEMA the next time they show up. You need to give out at least 2 of these. On the final night, if you survive to the end, FEMA will arrive at your door. They will talk about how you've been a valuable asset to them and helped them at every turn. And you guessed it, you get to join FEMA.
You're terrible! Hooray!
This is easily my 3rd favorite ending. You really get to see the dark and fucked up group FEMA really is. As the days get longer of doing jobs you've seen FEMA do all through your playthrough yourself, like manning the quarantine camps and taking people there. You slowly realize you're never going home, and this is your life from now on. While a shorter ending, I love this ending so much. I just think it's really cool they even added an ability to join FEMA. Up next is my second favorite ending. I'm saving my favorite for last. This one is called Embrace the Inevitable. But this ending has quite a few steps. So let's start with the beginning. I've mentioned a few times in this video the guaranteed visits from the bald man. He doesn't ask to enter, instead he asks for you to first read his fortune. Upon his other visits, he gives vague tasks. The first thing he asks of you is to let the cat inside, but after letting the cat in is how you find the basement, as the cat messes with the rug. But for a while, there really isn't much you can do with the basement, it's just there. Upon the prophet's return, he looks much more disheveled. He tells you to halt your scrutiny for the next 2 days, which essentially just means not killing anyone for 2 days. Easy enough. On his final return, he mentions your basement, looking even more disheveled. But upon going into the basement after getting his advice, you see that you can now dig in the dirt. By digging, it reduces your energy to 0, so you need to manage your time correctly in order to still use your energy to test people in the house. Digging for 3 days reveals that there are tunnels under your house. Upon spotting a miner who seems caved in and is in a bit of denial about it, saying his friends are just in here somewhere, with a gigantic hole that's just in the middle. Upon exploring through the tunnels, you can make your way to the hole. Entering the hole will bring you... well, I'll just let you see. I mean, when death takes you to outside the house, it's such a beautiful sight. As well as the perfect dialogue, this ending is pretty much unexplained, and that's what I love so much about it. Honestly, a perfect ending. It's not exactly happy by any means, but why I like it so much is because it's one of the only endings where the protagonist is finally put to rest, and at least, in a way, is happy. He seems okay with being there, and he doesn't want to leave. It's an ending so worth the time it takes to get it. And finally, the last ending I have yet to cover, and my favorite ending in this entire game, Child of Doom. Now, in your playthrough, you can meet a woman named the Seductive Woman. Weirdly, she speaks to you as if she knows you. If you let her in, she oddly sleeps in your bed with you. If you continue to talk to her, all she really does is try to soothe your worries. Whenever you express concern about anything to her, including being a visitor, she kind of just brushes it off. Throughout each night, you see her become pregnant somehow. Every night, her stomach grows bigger. When confronting her about it in the morning, she continues to deny it, but she isn't lying. She genuinely doesn't seem to believe you. And one night, her stomach reaches its limit. Upon sleeping and waking up, her stomach explodes, killing her instantly. Clicking the window curtains causes a baby noise. After this, you have to search your house for the fetus. Upon finding it twice, there's really not much else you can do but go to sleep. Waking up and going to the peephole, you can see the baby feeding on a dog, triggering the ending. She gave birth to the Antichrist. After the protagonist kills it, he's held as the savior of the people. He's carried off and crucified. Perfection. Masterful dark storytelling at its finest, and I was absolutely blown away with this ending. Some people might disagree and not like this ending as much as I did, but I adored it. And with that, that's really all I gotta say about this game. I haven't been so obsessed with the game so quickly since mouthwashing last year, although I'm still obsessed with mouthwashing, but you get the point. It's truly impressive the level of detail and world building the developers have put into this game. They clearly love it as much as we do. I'm currently trying to get all the achievements, and I have most of them, but in the future I'll have it 100%ed. I love this game so much. In recent times I've been trying to get all my friends to play it to see their reactions and stuff, and they have all ended up loving it as much as I do. The devs are even adding more characters to celebrate 150,000 copies of the game sold, which I think is pretty awesome. The next video I plan on making is finally finishing that part 2 of my Fears to Fathom video. I'm sure you guys have all been wanting to see that continuation. Sometime after that, I really do want to make a video talking about mouthwashing. It is still an absolute masterpiece of a video game, and still my second favorite game of all time. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I tried to make this video quicker than my others since this game is so popular right now, and a lot of people love and adore it as much as I do. And I also wanted to thank you guys for the insane 2,000 views on my last video. You guys are amazing, and if you like my content, do subscribe. I want to build my community with you guys. Anyways, peace.